You know what I've realized? Most of the content on YouTube for clothing brand owners is completely fluff. This video is going to be no fluff whatsoever. I'm going to be sharing with you extremely rare knowledge for clothing brand owners from my 8 years experience and from working with thousands of other brands online. I'm going to riff to you about this. It's going to be off the cuff, and hopefully it sears deep into your brain so that you can learn this stuff and apply it to your own brand. Get ready, here it is. When you hear this term brand, what a brand really is its consistency and cohesion around a specific message and identity. This idea of it being a specific identity that you're going after is really important. What most new brands do is they try to appeal to everybody. When you try to appeal to everybody, you end up appealing to nobody because there's no particular traits that any individual person is able to attach and associate themselves with. Even the term brand is an old English term that came out of branding animals. Farmers would brand their animals by burning their name into them to give them an identity. You were branding an animal by giving them an identity to say that that cow belongs to that owner. So on a fundamental level, it's important to know that your brand needs to be a specific or particular identity. It can't be wide open. It defeats the whole purpose of what a brand is in the first place. And to add on to this, the clearer that you can be as to who your brand is and the specific identity that it has, the easier it is to communicate and the easier it is for people to know exactly what your brand is all about and who it's for. If you were to go on Google right now and look up what is a brand, you'll notice there's this word particular in every single definition. It's a particular identity or image regarded as an asset. The technical definition of a brand is that it's a product or service that has a unique and recognizable identity that distinguishes itself from others in the industry. So when it comes to your brand, creating something that is distinguishable from all of the other brands out there is priority number one, and it's the most common mistake that I see with new clothing brands starting out. There are far too many brands watching this video or starting up their own brand right now that are doing something exactly like thousands of other clothing brands that are out there, and they're all wondering, why is nobody buying from me? I don't understand why I can't get any orders. Well, I hope that that just answered your question. It's likely because you haven't distinguished your brand enough and you haven't given it any differentiators that are clear and obvious to give it a particular identity. Before I share with you more gold here, Apparel Success is sponsored by my buds over at BrandCrowd. BrandCrowd's a logo maker tool. You type in the name of the logo that you want, smack that enter button. Thousands of logos are gonna come up. You choose the logo that you like, then you can edit and refine that logo as long as you want for free until it's perfect. This is a Hundo P design I made for my own clothing brand using BrandCrowd. If you're interested, head over to brandcrowd.com/apparel success and you can get up to 66% off at checkout. Okay, moving on here. This video is filled with gold right to the end, I promise you. The next thing that I want to talk about is how your level of resources or resourcefulness will determine the size of the impact of your clothing brand. If you've got a lot of resources, like say Nike, where they've got billions of dollars and they can give out these huge endorsement deals to Tiger Woods, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, who have billion-dollar contracts, it's easy to gain a leg up on your competition when you've got all those resources to utilize. You can just endorse Justin Bieber, you can endorse Logan Paul and all these big people out there. And when you're just starting up, if you don't have the resources, then it's all going to be your level of resourcefulness that will determine the size of the impact that you have. And I want to give some examples of exactly how I was able to do this with my own brand. My clothing brand represents small town in rural Canada, and I didn't have a lot of money to endorse celebrities and influencers in my space. So instead, I used my own resources. I created the best products possible for a very specific niche and particular audience. And then I reached out to those celebrities and I offered them free clothing in the DMs, and I hustled in the DMs to just offer them free clothing. And I landed free pictures just by being really resourceful and really strategic in the way that I was reaching out and getting in contact with them. I also had a lot of success with my brand running giveaways where I used my own skill set and my own creativity to design really cool giveaways and run those on Instagram. And through doing that over and over again, thinking about what people want and thinking about how to run those giveaways, I was able to gain a pretty large following and to sell a lot of clothing. Then more resourcefulness would be things like learning how to create a website and learning how to do it well. getting your friends together, all of the people that you know that you can use from your own network and leveraging them to be models inside of the photography that you're using, reaching out to photographers that you know personally or asking friends if they know a photographer, and just hustling and being resourceful. The peak results that I was getting for my clothing brand, where I was doing $70,000 a month in sales for this little niche clothing brand that represents rural Canada, there was a direct correlation between the amount of resourcefulness that I had and the amount of results that I was getting. Another insight that you absolutely need to know as a clothing brand, this is so valuable to know, is that your clothing brand is only as powerful as your weakest part. A clothing brand is something that works in unison, in harmony. There's all of these different parts: your website, your marketing, your products, your designs. All of these things need to work together in harmony. And if you have one part that's off, one part that's weak, it will ruin your results entirely. If you have a really great website, but really bad products, people will be like, wow, this is a really nice website, but I don't really like anything that they're selling. If you've got a really great website, really great products, but you're really bad at marketing, no one's gonna find your website, no one's gonna find your products. If you've got really great marketing and a really bad website, people are going to be coming to your website in flocks, but they're not going to want to buy anything. There's going to be a really high bounce rate because your website looks like crap, and because you haven't mastered each individual component. They all work together. There's the saying, death by 1,000 cuts. In this space, there's nothing more true than that. It's the littlest things in these different areas that will hurt the overall perception of your brand, and your brand needs to work as a perfect storm. It's truly a case of not 1 + 1 = 2, but 1 + 1 = 11. When you get all of your parts working in harmony, everything comes together. And another bit of extremely rare knowledge for you is, do not try and copy what big brands are doing. Big brands are able to get away with very different strategies when it comes to their marketing than what you're able to get away with as a smaller brand that's just starting up. Big brands like Nike, Adidas, Supreme, they have leverage. They have a brand history, and that brand history affects what they're able to do and what they're able to get away with. A great example of this is a lot of these big brands on social media have really boring posts. It's just like models posing in like Vogue, or they're not even like doing anything cool on their social media, and they've got millions of followers. And it's because people already know their brand and they just want to follow them, or they follow them from the ads that they're running. But if you're trying to grow an audience organically online and you try to post like Nike does and like their regular posts on social media, you're not going to get anywhere. You have to think differently and be more creative as a startup than you can if you're a gigantic big clothing brand that's been around for 40 years where you've got all this brand history. Let me know in the comments if any of this struck home for you, and if you learned a lot from this video. I'd really appreciate it. And if you want to go deeper with me and a community of other clothing brand owners, you can check out apparelsuccessmastermind.com, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.